One of the best ways of using media is to mix them. Print media may improve reading skills, while audio media generally improve listening skills. By using both, and then adding a writing or speaking activity to it, you develop all the major language skills simultaneously while learners are having fun. Here is one example.
This is Radio Ulwazi News, bringing you events and stories as they happen in and around the world.
Breaking news is that the fires in Indonesia are allegedly the cause of a plane crash over the country's north island of Sumatra. The plane apparently crashed in thick smoke, which has covered large parts of Sumatra and Malaysia since February. The smoke is the result of runaway forest fires burning in the area. Our reporter, George Likorotswana, is in Sumatra at the scene of the crash. George, what actually happened?
Well, at about 10:30 local time, an Indonesian jet airliner crashed as it approached the smoke-ridden city of Medan on the island of Sumatra. Apparently, the plane was unable to locate the airport, and the plane plowed into trees in a hilly region near the town of Medan. On impact, the plane immediately burst into flames, killing all 234 people on board.
Were there any witnesses to the crash, George?
A local farmer heard the plane crashes because he was in around the area, and but he only heard the sound and planes, engines roaring above him, but he couldn't see actually this plane due to the smoke. And a few seconds afterwards, he says he just saw lights flashing, and there was this big explosion, and suddenly the sky was just raining with bits of burning aeroplane. He just simply ran for his life. And as we speak now, I mean, there are several chunks of debris, some still on fire, strewn all over the rice fields in the surrounding villages.
That's George Likorotswana reporting live from Sumatra. Meanwhile, environmental experts continue to warn of the dangers the fires are bringing to the region. Apart from destroying large areas of the natural rainforest, the smoke is contributing to the greenhouse effect, which is raising temperatures worldwide. The cause of these fires is still unknown. But to shed light on the possible causes is Anne-Marie Evans, Director at the Institute of Southeast Asian Studies in Malaysia. Welcome, Anne-Marie.
Thank you.
First of all, what could be the cause of these fires?
Well, there are a number of factors involved. Firstly, the main way of clearing land in this region, either for housing or for cultivation, is the slash and burn method, and this involves chopping down trees and then setting them alight. Most of the cleared land is already being used by existing farmers, but the worsening economic situation in the country has forced many poor people to become peasant farmers. And of course, when people are hungry and they have no work, one of the few choices open to them is to clear some land and plant food crops, with rice obviously being the major crop in this region. And finally, the current drought conditions and the late arrival of the monsoon rains, which are being blamed on the effects of El Niño, have made it relatively easy for the fires to spread over huge areas.
And what attempts are being made to stop the continued spread of the fires?
Unfortunately, the fires are now out of control. Thousands of firefighters are trying to put them out, but because of the large areas that have been affected and the dryness of the vegetation, the task of the firefighters is an extremely difficult one, and the environmental and health consequences are very worrying for this already economically weakened region.
That was Anne-Marie Evans of the Institute of Southeast Asian Studies in Kuala Lumpur. And that's how we end this report. We'll keep you informed on the latest events and happenings in Indonesia and the spreading fires.
In the Learning Guide, you have a number of newspaper reports about the fires in Southeast Asia. How could a teacher use these?
My name is Mandla Maseko, a teacher in Gauteng. I think using this particular media, it brings the element of reality within the subject. You know, as a geography person, you understand that the systems are connected. If something goes wrong in point A, it affects the rest, you see. So fire, you cannot look at fire, just fire there, and then say it causes soil erosion and so forth. It has so many effects. You know, it has some effect in the pollution. It has some effect in the farming community. Now, if you gather that information for a class, it extends what the teacher knows from the textbook to the level of the reality, the outside world, what is actually happening, because within the report will be maybe something about that, something that happened yesterday. I'm looking at the nature of fire. You know, many people will associate it with geography. But you can turn that around and include some maths examples. Take, for instance, if we are in Southern Bonny, you will therefore say in the activity, how long will when the fire is burning and the wind is spreading 25 kilometers per hour, and already the smoke has spread 300 kilometers. We will therefore have to ask, how long will the smoke, take to reach us in Southern Bonny? So that particular activity, it will involve some maths calculation, because the student must calculate the 300 kilometers, calculate the 25 kilometers per hour, all those maths activities. And for me, that is how the subjects start to integrate from one to the other.
You have heard a few of the ways in which electronic media can be used. Tempting as it may be to use recorded songs, radio, television or films as a break from routine, doing so builds up the wrong impression in learners and makes it more difficult to get them to respond actively when you do want them to use these media for purposeful learning activities. And there are plenty of those, many of which are described in your learning guide.